Well, my colleague Pankaj Upadhyay is joining me live for more on this story. Also with us in the studio is Air Marshal Kapil Kak. Pankaj, I'd like to come to you first. You've put together this entire story, and what has come out is that this is definitely not the first time that rules have been violated. And if it continues like that, it just appears that Air India, in collusion with the DGCA, is in fact endangering the lives of lakhs of passengers.
Rishika, the unfortunate part remains that these brazen violations are continuing unabated.
Right.
This morning at 5:30, when the flight from Bombay to London left, AI-131, it again violated the crew complement. The crew alleges that this plane, again a Boeing 777-300 ER, had only 8 crew members. Now, this is even less than the basic minimum.
Right.
And the crew also alleges that the management forced these 8 crew members to take the flight. Now, this is a very unhealthy scenario, to the extent that the members now allege they would again be complaining to the American regulator, that is the Federal Aviation Administration.
Right.
Why? Because in a few days from now, FAA is again going to land here. Our security standards have already been downgraded. So this is going to be again a huge embarrassment for our Prime Minister when he visits the US. Hectic parleys are on so that we can get grade 1. But then here it is so unfortunate that the employees of the national carrier have to go to some other country's regulator to complain and say, look at the mess management that is going on here. Not just this, the crew also alleges that the fatigue factor is rising by the day.
Absolutely.
They are being forced to do long hours, and that is a big risk factor, Rishika.
Absolutely. Pankaj, stay on with us. Air Marshal Kapil Kak is also with us in the studio. So I'd just like to begin by asking you that violating crew complement is a very serious concern, and the fact that captains of these aircrafts are in fact forced by the management to take off despite having inadequate crew members on board. Where exactly does the culpability lie? Who should be held responsible, and how grave is the situation in your analysis?
Culpability lies at every level, Rishika. If what we have got from your reporters is true, it is indeed an extremely serious violation of safety of aircraft, which is the crucial determinant for airlines all over the world. But let me clarify, there are 2 or 3 issues here. I think we are mistaking the desirable, the adequate and the minimum. Mr. Rohin Nandan, who came on your channel, unfortunately has evaded the issue. He could have given the precise number of cabin crew who are required to fly on a 16-hour flight from Chicago to Delhi with 300 passengers on board. What is the minimal laydown? You mentioned about the pilots being forced to take off. I'm saying, I mean, he's no pilot. If he is being forced, a pilot has a professional judgment. I've flew for 30 years for the Indian Air Force. You disregard the highest level instruction if you are compromising security of 300 passengers. DGCA lays down the minimas. On this flight, they would have said, what is the minimum cabin crew complement? That unfortunately nobody has thrown light on. It's not just a question of DGCA stipulation of so many 1.5 number, the type of number of doors on the aircraft. I think minimum is one. Secondly, the culpability lies with the DGCA as well. Most importantly, with the airline management, and if pilots are being forced to take off, they should be taken off the roster.
Also, what do you make of the fact that, you know, in this report, my colleague Pankaj has in fact highlighted the fact that there was a special crew that was on board for the Mantri, the first class crew contingent comprised of 3 people, and it was only 5 crew members who were left to man an aircraft which had 300 passengers on board. Clear disregard for the normal man, for the common man who is on board, and just 3 crew members specially to cater to the Mantri.
Rishika, you're spot on. Unfortunately, this is in the DNA of every Indian of this feudal society, which is India today, which it has been for thousands of years. The issue for the in-flight supervisor, when the person realized that aircraft was being diverted, there could be a problem on landing. This is a 2-engine aircraft. I think the viewers need to understand. One of the engines has been shut down because there was an oil leak. So it is a fairly serious situation. That's not the time to worry about the comfort of the minister.
Absolutely.
That's the time to worry about the possibility of problems of evacuation of the crew should that emergency landing not be routine as it has turned out. So I think the whole chain, the value chain of this process has unfortunately not done the job it's required to do. But the most unfortunate part is this business of VIP culture. It is in our DNA. We need to get rid of it as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Adding to the fact that there were several security concerns that were brazenly violated is also the fact that there were 3 crew members exclusively entertaining the Mantri who was on board that flight. Pankaj Upadhyay is still with us. Pankaj, we spoke with an Air India employee on the condition of anonymity a little while ago, and he in fact pointed out that the employee association, the union, has in fact written 185 letters on board, but clearly all of those letters and all of those voices of concern and reason have been completely ignored by the powers that be.
This is where the real surprise is. It is just not possible that the country's aviation regulator would be completely oblivious to what's happening in the national carrier. It's just not possible. And if it is aware, then why is it not acting upon these complaints? Why does not it come out clear as far as these violations are concerned? Now, when I say that the employees would be writing a letter to the FAA as they did last time to the Australian authorities, this is a very, very unhealthy scenario.
Absolutely.
Now, our security rankings are still at number 2. This is not good. It does not reflect good for the Indian aviation.
Absolutely. So you'd like to respond to that?
I just want to make one very brief point. You know, Air India number of employees per aircraft is perhaps the highest in the world. So I'm not going to hold a candle for the unions. The unions want more number of people on board that aircraft. If given the opportunity, they would put 30 cabin crew per aircraft because they want more number of people to fly, get more money.
But the big question really is that the basic minimum has to in fact be adhered to, and what it appears at this point in time is that Air India along with the DGCA in collusion are in fact endangering the lives of several passengers who board the national carrier on a daily basis. Marshal Kark, thank you so much for joining us. Pankaj Upadhyay, thanks for putting that story into perspective.